Good morning and welcome to Title Talk on Monday, June 17th. I'm Karen Hamstra and let's look at some new library materials. Our first item today is a novel called The Leaden Heart by Chris Nixon. This is a mystery, but it's a historical mystery that takes place in Leeds, England in July of 1899. The city is in the grip of a heat wave, and the only real crime plaguing Detective Superintendent Tom Harper and his squad is a sly, daring burglar. But when his former friend and colleague, Inspector Billy Reed, comes to Leeds to bury his brother Charlie, something much darker begins to unfold. Charlie has committed suicide, and going through his papers, Billy discovers crippling rent rises and intimidation by a new landlord. A mystery waiting to be solved in The Leaden Heart by Chris Nixon. Next we have a book called The Ugly Truth by Jill Orr. This too is a mystery. This takes place in Tuttle Corner, Virginia, where there's been a shocking double murder. This brings national attention and big city competition for the story to junior reporter Riley Ellison's little corner of the world. Beloved cafe owner Rosalie is the prime suspect, but she insists on her innocence. In exchange for protection, Rosalie gives Riley and her fellow reporter Holman exclusive information that incriminates a powerful person. The Ugly Truth by Jill Orr. And this one has such a fun name and concept. This is Waiting for Tom Hanks by Carrie Winfrey. This woman is obsessed with Tom Hanks. Annie Cassidy is her name. She is a rom-com obsessed romantic waiting for her perfect leading man, and she learns that life doesn't always go according to a script. She dreams of being the next Nora Ephron. She spends her days writing screenplays, rewatching Sleepless in Seattle, and waiting for movie perfect meet cute. If she could just find her own Tom Hanks, a man who's sweet, sensitive, and possibly owns a houseboat, her problems would disappear and her life would be perfect. But Tom Hanks is nowhere in sight. When a movie starts filming in her very own neighborhood and Annie gets a job on the set, it seems like a sign. Then Annie meets the lead actor, Drew Danforth, a cocky prankster who couldn't be less like Tom Hanks if he tried. Their meet cute is more of a meet fail. But soon Annie finds herself sharing some classic rom-com moments with Drew. Her Tom Hanks can't be an author who's leaving town in a matter of days, can he? Well, you need to find out in Waiting for Tom Hanks, a novel by Carrie Winfrey. Of course it's a novel. Then we have one called The 10th Muse by Catherine Chung. This is a historical fiction. It says, from the days of her childhood in the 1950s Midwest, Catherine knows she is different and that her parents are not who they seem. As she matures from a girl of rare intelligence into an exceptional mathematician, traveling to Europe to further her studies, she must face the most human of problems. Who is she? What is the cost of love and what is the cost of ambition? These questions grow ever more entangled as Catherine strives to take her place in the world of higher mathematics and becomes involved with a brilliant and charismatic professor. The book discovers and delves into some secrets long buried after World War II, and it is billed as a gorgeous, sweeping tale about legacy, identity, and the beautiful ways the mind can make us free. The 10th Muse by Catherine Chung. And for our last fiction novel, a full-length fiction novel, we have Mark Haddon's new book, The Porpoise. If the name Mark Haddon sounds familiar to you, that's because he was the author of the very well-received novel, The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime. So now he has switched from dogs to porpoises. This novel begins with a plane crash. Maya, the pregnant wife of the unimaginably wealthy Philippe, is killed, but their daughter Angelica survives. Philippe's obsession with the girl's safety morphs into something sinister and grotesque. A young man named Darius visiting Philippe with a business proposition encounters Angelica and intuits their secret. He decides to rescue her, but the attempt goes awry. This story mirrors the ancient legend of Antiochus. Pardon me, Antiochus, if I am mispronouncing your name, whose love for the daughter of his dead wife was discovered by the adventurer Apollonius of Tyre, and the tale appeared in many forms, including it became the swashbuckling Pericles in Shakespeare's famous play. So, in The Porpoise, Angelica comes to terms with a life of imprisonment on her father's estate. Darius morphs into Pericles, voyaging through a mythic world. If you like classic literature, you might want to give The Porpoise by Mark Haddon a try. Then we have some new romance books. The first one is by B.J. Daniels. It's called Steel Resolve. If you're a B.J. Daniels fan, and I know there are many of you out there, you won't want to miss that. Maisie Yates has a new one called Cowboy to the Core. And it looks steamy and hot. I mean, look at that. You can even see the steam rising out of the river right on the front cover. Ooh, goodness. A love-inspired novel. These are a little gentler romances. Hometown Hope by Laurel Blount. They are still Harlequins. And then, looks familiar, Marta Perry has a new Amish novel, Amish Outsider. I know a lot of you really enjoy the Amish fiction. And Marta Perry is certainly a well-known name in the romance world. And then we have 3 new audiobooks I want to show. Robert B. Parker's The Buckskin, and this is actually by Robert Knott. Those of you Robert B. Parker fans know that he's been deceased for 9 years now. This is about Virgil Cole and Everett Hitch, and this time out they must prevent all-out war between rival factions in their latest adventure. And gold is discovered in the foothills just outside Appaloosa, and it starts a fight between 2 shrewd local business operations as their hired gun hands square off against one another. So that's called Buckskin. And I think it will probably be under Knott by Robert Knott, since I believe he is the primary author of it. And then Robert Galbraith has a new book, Career of Evil. When a mysterious package is delivered to Robin Ellicott, she is horrified to discover that it contains a woman's severed leg. I think that's a pretty normal reaction. Her boss, Private Detective Cormoran Strike, is less surprised, but no less alarmed. There are 4 people from his past who he thinks could be responsible, and Strike knows that any one of them is capable of sustained and unspeakable brutality. So, read what happens about the severed leg in Career of Evil by Robert Galbraith. And then on a somewhat gentler hue, we have the new Susan Mallory novel in audiobook form, The Summer of Sunshine and Margot. I believe we talked about the book either last week or the previous week. The book is being really popular, so a lot of times if you don't want to wait in a long line for the book, you can get the audio much more quickly. So, Susan Mallory. And that concludes our reading list for the week. I hope you found something you might like to try. Come on down and check it out. See you next week.